to new, click standard inch IPT, make sure you're in the right project, and click create. Go ahead and click start menu, click the XY plane. We're just going to make an equilateral triangle right up here. Alright, and we'll say that this is a horizontal one if it's not already horizontal. Mine's already horizontal. And we're going to say that each of these sides is equal to one another. And we're going to put a coincident constraint on the midpoint to that endpoint right there. And put a dimension on this that is exactly 1 inch. Alright, finish the sketch. Extrude it out 10 inches. And this part is called a spar. So we're going to go to save. We're going to call it 16. Oops. 16-1209. And it's called a spar. Create the drawing from it. So ANSI inch IDW, create. Use the base view here. Let's start, I think, with this view. Will look good there. Put one here, and we can put an isometric up here. Right click and create. A lot of paper there, so I'm going to go ahead and go to here, edit the sheet, change this to B size, which is a smaller page. So you see it's 11 by 17, then click OK. I'm going to have to move my views a little bit to adjust, but this will look better in the long run when we do this here. So I'm going to change this, edit this view, and I'll make it half scale. It doesn't need to be full scale. So that'll make it really nice there. Alright, then we'll go to annotate and put a dimension on this, and we're going to put a dimension right here. Okay, next we're going to make a part called the hilt. Click start, standard inch IPT, we're in the right project, create. Alright, so we're going to click start there, come over here. We're going to make the same triangle we made a minute ago. We're just going to position it differently. So, because we want it to be in the middle of the thing there, made one little mistake. So we'll go ahead and do a coincident constraint between that endpoint and here. But I am going to do equals on all sides. That makes my equilateral triangle. I'm going to do a horizontal constraint between this midpoint and the origin point here. I'm going to do a vertical constraint between this midpoint and that origin point there. And I'm going to say that this is 1 inch across. Alright. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to add a rectangle on here. So this is going to be the hilt. So we'll add a rectangle there, but we're going to make these equal also. So it's square. Do a horizontal constraint between that midpoint and the origin point. Do a vertical constraint between the origin point and that midpoint, and we're going to say that these are 2 inches square. We're also going to go in here now. We're going to add a couple of holes. So we're going to add a hole here that is 0.325 in diameter, and we're going to add another hole over here, and we'll say that they're equal with one another. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and put a dimension from the origin point to the center point there, and I'm going to make that 0.625. We're also going to put one from here to here and say that that's 0.625. Alright, so if we do a horizontal constraint between here and here, that automatically makes them 0.625, and I'll put a dimension on from this origin, from the origin to there. Click that in place, and then I'm just going to click on that right there, and you click that dimension and it makes them the same. Alright, so I know this is starting to look like Perry the Platypus in pixel form or for Minecraft, but we're going to do something else with it. Alright, so we'll finish that sketch. We're going to come over here and we're going to extrude it, and we're only going to extrude it 0.5. Oops, 0.5, that's the profile we want to do. 0.5, and we're good. So double click the mouse wheel, click save. We're going to call this one 16-1210, and it is the hilt. Oops, hilt. Go ahead and click new. We're going to click inch IPT. I'm going to make a drawing for it, so we're going to put in this base view. Well, it's way too small. We might be able to get away with this kind of thing here, so let's click create. We'll try changing that sheet size again, go down to a smaller sheet. Maybe even be able to pull it off on a B size. Here, looks a little bit better. Might have to switch back. We'll try this. We're going to edit the view and go for twice the size. Let's change the scale a little bit. I don't know, that's looking pretty good. Let's See how this works out as far as dimensioning goes. Alright, so we'll go to annotate, click center point, we'll put those center points in place. Then we'll go ahead and put a dimension on that goes from here to here, and then a dimension that goes between the two centers. Put that in place, put this on in here, and tell us that it is through two places. So we're telling us that it goes through and it's in two places. Click OK. I'm going to put a dimension on that goes from the end point right here to the center point right there, which means when I put this one in place, I don't like where that leader was, so I'm going to grab it, hit escape on the keyboard, grab this and start moving it, move it up to about right here. And I want to line it up with those so they look good. Alright, we got that distance there. We can go ahead, we'll add a dimension that goes from here to here. Oops, forgot. Put dimension from there to there, so we know where the top of that is. We'll put a dimension in from there to the bottom, so we know where the bottom of it is located. We'll put a dimension in that goes from this one here to that point right there, so we know where that corner is, and then we'll just dimension right across that, so we know where that other corner is. So now all the corners are located of that, so we only need to know an overall height, and we'll do an overall width also, and then we'll add a depth right here. Alright, so we've got a fully dimensioned part. We'll go ahead and do the centerline bisectors on these parts right here. Alright. Oops. Yeah. I clicked the wrong one. Delete that. Do the centerline bisector from here to here. Okay. Alright, so now we're good on that one. So now what we need to do next, we're going to click save. We're going to save it as hilt, and then we're going to go to properties. This is the important part once again. We're going to change this, call it a hilt. I'm going to change the company name to Kettle. Change our part number. Over here, we're just going to get rid of hilt out of that. So it's just its part number, click apply, and then close. Alright, so that part's done. Alright, so next we're going to go up and go to new. We're going to do this last part, standard inch IPT. Go ahead, create this sketch. Create a circle right here that is a diameter 0.325. Finish the sketch, and we're going to extrude it, say 5 inches in the other direction. Click OK. Alright. Okay, so now we've got that done. We'll click save. We're going to call it 16-12-11, and that is called the rod. And click save. Okay, so then once that's saved, we'll go down here, go to new, inch IPT, we'll create a drawing. This is looks kind of big. So let's switch to this side view here. We'll put a view in there like this. Right click and create. So page again is too big, so we'll switch that to a different size sheet. So we'll go to B size paper. We might even be able to, now this is manageable, so we might edit the view, change it so it's twice 2 to 1. Scale's a little bit bigger, but really not much to this this point, because we're just going to annotate it, and so that we'll put a dimension on here, say what that diameter is, and we'll put a dimension on here. Now I think it was important that we change this right here. We'll right click on this, change the precision to 3 decimal places, because that's 0.325. That's what it has to be over on the other piece. So we'll click save. We're going to save that there. We're going to remember that 0.325 here for a second. I'm going to do the eye properties, change this to a rod, change our company name, project number. We're going to get rid of rod out there. That pops up because we saved it that way already. Click apply and close. Now we were talking about that 0.325. We'll go back to this hilt drawing here, and where that says 0.33, we'll right click on that one and this one here, and we're going to change the precision on that to 3 places. So that's they're gonna fit in there. There's gonna be 2 of them that'll fit into that. So let's make sure everything's good here. Click save, and we'll close. Okay, now let's make an assembly. Just to make things easier for you to see, you don't have to do this, but I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go to this part. I'm going to go to the hilt right here, exchange. I'm going to come down to eye properties. I'm going to go over here to physical and change this to something like gold. You'll see here that what's going to happen is changing it physically to gold, and it's going to make that part gold now. Alright, shouldn't affect us too much. We'll go ahead and click save. I just want to do that so you can see how things are going to work out. So we'll go up to new, and when you're making an assembly drawing, you're going to go to assembly here, standard inch IAM, click create. Alright, so now if you're going to see anything other than, well, let's just do this. You just want to click on place. Alright, so click place. We're going to place the hilt, which is now gold. We'll place it right there, and it changes the view cube, puts it in place, and I can add multiple ones if I want it. Click OK. Alright, now we'll go to the hilt right here, right click on it, and come down. You want to ground this piece. That means this piece won't ever move. It stays right where you wanted it to. Next we'll place, and we'll go and grab the spar, and we're going to place the spar right here. Right click and click OK. Click place again, and we're going to grab a rod, and we're going to put in a rod. We'll put in a rod right here and another rod right there. Right click and click OK. Now you'll see that they are just kind of arbitrarily out there. They're not in any real good place or anything like that. But what we want to do is we want to make sure they fit in certain places. So we're going to use this right here. We're going to constrain this. We're going to constrain this piece. We've got these different options of a mate constraint, an angle constraint, a tangent constraint, an insertion constraint, a symmetry constraint. You can do things here where these you have 2 faces that are touching one another if you're doing this one. These are where they're flush. There's different options. You can just kind of work your way through it and see how they work. You'll find ways and reasons to use them. Alright, so what we're going to do here is we're going to start off by clicking this one. We're going to click this. We'll click right here on this one. We'll click the center line of that, and we're going to go over to the center line of that hole, and it's going to pop it into place. If you have your sound on, you'll probably hear some funky little noise. Alright, click apply. We're also then going to go ahead and do this. We're going to say this face right here, we want this face to be flush with this face right here, so it pops it into place. Alright, click apply and you're good. We'll do the same thing with this one. Do the center line of this. Oops, cancel. Let me do this. Click constrain. I want to grab that center line and go to that center line right there. Change this to flush and say I want that to be flush with this. Right, click apply and we're good there. Okay, so now you see that those 2 things are in there. Alright, we'll look at this part right here. So this is where it gets a little bit tricky, but what we're going to do is this, we're going to say we're going to constrain this surface right here to this surface right here. Alright, click apply. Now I'm going to close this, right, and I want you to see what happens here. Now I can move this. It looks like I'm able to move it wherever I want to, but I've constrained that surface to that surface there, and so you see how this works. We'll move to the end here. Here's that gray piece. As much as I move the mouse around, it doesn't look like I can move it anywhere. It's only moving up and down on that plane because those planes are constrained together. If I switch it to this front view, it looks like I can move it all over, but remember, it's still in that one plane. So then what we'll do next is we'll go in here. We're going to constrain, and we'll say we want this surface to be constrained to this surface. Right, click apply. I'm going to close this. So now you'll see that this is here, but it can only go in and out, right? If I go to the end of this and try to move it, I'm not able to do a thing to it. It's stuck there. But if I went to this view, I can move it back and forth all I want. Okay, I'm going to try something a little different here. We're going to do this constraint here, so sometimes you don't want things placed in a specific spot. So when we do this, we're going to say we want a flush mount right here between this surface and this surface. Well, we want it to stick out this way a little bit. So we'll try the offset here and say we want it to go out about an inch, but it went the wrong way. So what we'll do is we'll just arrow back, put in a negative, and it comes the direction we want. So now that's 1 inch from this surface to that surface. We'll click apply. Okay. Alright, then once we got that done, this is all we're going to do for now. So you ought to be able to save this. We'll call it the 16-2-001 assembly, and click save. So now we'll go to create a new drawing. We're going to create a drawing of this, ANSI inch IDW. We'll put that in place, and we're going to go ahead and pick a base view. Now, we probably want to do something like this in this case. So we'll put that there. It creates that view. Right click, click OK. This is your assembly, and it kind of tells you how things go together. And this is just one where it's easy to put together. You don't have to have any special dimensions or anything. It's just a standard assembly, isometric assembly drawing. What's important to know is that when you come over here, there's a thing called a parts list. Parts list, we're going to create just like this. We'll create a parts list, select a view. We're going to select that view right there. We want it structured just like this. Click OK. Do you wish to enable a BOM view? Absolutely. And we're going to put this down right about here. Alright, you'll see that it comes down here, and we have a parts list that tells us all the parts that are in there and a quantity of how many you have, and then you see it says item 1, 2, and 3. So it's already assigned those things. So then you'll go to a balloon, and you're going to click on this and put a balloon right here, and right click and continue, and it says that that's part number 2. I'll put a balloon right here, right click, continue, that's part number 3. This is a separate part, right click, continue, that's also part number 3. We put one on here, right here, click continue, that's part number 1. So now we know where each of those parts are in relationship to the rest of this. So you're going to go ahead and click iProperties, change this again, so we're going to call this one assembly, and we'll change our company name. And our project number was 16-2-001, and apply. So now when you print this out, this is all finished. Double click your mouse wheel. It's kind of big on the page, so I'm going to do, once again, I like to switch these down here, so I'm going to edit that and switch down to a B size page. It's a little more manageable, and it's easy to see everything that's going on. So we'll move that over here. We'll put that in place right there like that. Some of you might even get to where you want things to look really nice and do something like that. But that's it. We're finished with that, and that's how you make an assembly drawing. So then, click save. Make sure you save the assembly drawing. Go ahead and say yes to all of those.